Some frameworks. So a couple frameworks here is the PISO, however you pronounce that. That's kind of your traditional older one that was taught in the past, where you got the more dynamic one, the DAR. The older one had some issues before. So a lot of times the preparation would fail. There is actually no scoping in that framework, and it's important, of course, to have a framework. I'm not going to spend too much time on this section, but I want to point out, like, you want to have a plan and then work the plan. If you have an incident and something's really is like, what do you do? Like, what's the first step? You have something to actually start telling you what the first steps are, what can you do. Yep, playbooks and everything like that. These are considered like frameworks, but within those frameworks are, I think I've heard runbooks before, like where I work, we usually just say, we'll use the term playbook.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
But yeah, some other issues was, once the older version, like if you identify it, a lot of times that they'll just delete it right there. Like something malicious, they won't actually contain it, and that's where the problem with scoping it they come from. Like they need to figure out exactly where it's at. They might find, oh, it's right here on the web server, and they just isolate it and delete it, and without really trying to figure out, okay, yes, it's on the web server, but how did it get on the web server? Where did it come from? It came from Joe's laptop that's infected. I don't know, something like that. So that's where we get into the dynamic approach kind of framework where you prepare. Of course, you always have to always be practicing, always preparing. That's kind of partly here today. That. Of course, detect. This little box thing is the area that says this is kind of this part where you're going to go talk to decision makers, see that what they say, like, okay, it's on our web server. Do we need to shut down the web server? It's going to bring down for our customers or things like that. Start getting their buy-in on things. If it's something smaller, maybe like you don't have to stop production or anything. But this is definitely the spot where you start getting their buy-in. And of course, the response actions, you go through all of these. First, you start scoping it, you contain it, you eradicate it once you've figured out what's going on there, and you recover that spot. But then, you don't just stop there. You go back to scope. Like, okay, like we got that. Like, let's look about further out. Well, do we miss anything? We missed Joe's computer. Who knows? There's no Joe. If so, I'm sorry. I'm sure your computer's coming. Live investigation, there's some things that you do. This is mainly just, getting onto PowerShell. This is just a few things that you could look at whenever doing live investigations. And depending on time, like go get on PowerShell and start throwing out some commands. But of course, we can look up processes, networks. Like, of course, process you're looking for. Okay, is that process supposed to be there? Does it look weird? Does it have a child when it shouldn't have a child? I'm thinking about LSAS, the process to start the what is a password connection to check out your passwords. And it usually, if I remember correctly, doesn't have any child processes. Now, what if LSAS has a child process of like Notepad or something, which maybe that you go look into networking processes, and that Notepad has a network connection to port 4444, which like Metasploit, that's the traditional port for Metasploit. And like, what in the world is Notepad if it was had any network connections at all? So like the things like that shouldn't have a network connection. So you just kind of got to know what the normal processes are, and what, if there's anything strange or odd about those processes, like how to, spot those. Other things, of course, services, accounts, strange accounts, as admin 2 is like, you're not supposed to be an admin 2 on this machine. Who's admin 2? Or even accounts with strange characters. The hacker would be like a malicious threat actor. It would be nice if they said like, this is a hacked account. But I highly doubt they'll do that. They'll probably try to enable the account to something, local admin or something like that. But also that's where group policies come into play, where a lot of companies don't even allow local admin on machines through group policies. Supposed to.
A lot of the times it is.
Exactly. A lot of times they are enabled. Of course, random scheduled task. Does that machine supposed to be calling out to a malicious website every hour? The things like that. If it's a regular workstation computer, there may not supposed to be any scheduled tasks, and if there are any at all, like that could throw red flags. Of course, registry keys and file activity. There's all things that, when you're actually, something happened, and you need to go into a machine and you start connecting to it, and you can see, like, these are things that you can look for. You look, let's see if there's anything else. So, large amount of data being sent or received.
That's filtration.
Yep, like, exactly, data.
They'll stage it before they move it on. They'll like send it somewhere, and stage a whole bunch of data. And you can see like there's like reports of like I forgot how to exactly do it. But you can see like it's like behavioral analysis. So like, hey, this doesn't usually have 40 gigabytes of data, and now all of a sudden this month, this location has a ridiculous amount. But like usually IPS systems will pick that up. Intrusion prevention systems. You'll see that as abnormal activities.
Exactly, yeah, like you get an alert saying, hey, someone just transferred 5 gig of data within the last, 2 minutes. Like, whenever you're doing office sort of work, you're sending emails back and forth, those emails are vague. Like if it has a couple of PDF attachments, it might be a few kilobytes and everything. But if like someone starts transferring like gigs of data, that's definitely in the networking. That is where you can look at that.
It's crazy how it's all triage too. Like they use stores and seams or signs, however you say it. So it's just like a giant dashboard, and the stores are all these IDS systems that are all around the network that pick up kind of weird activities and then triage it all into a dashboard that these people can see. So it's pretty cool.
And what we're talking about here is not just going on the machine. The live investigation is more like going onto the machine. But if you have SIM, whatever, many people say it different ways, you can act like in a security, you'll get different logs coming from different locations. Yeah, from the machine, but also from the firewall, from the routers that are in your environment, from servers that are connecting to that machine. You get all this stuff that comes together in one location, which is that SIM. Popular one I hear is Splunk. I unfortunately don't get to use that much. The one that I'm more familiar with at my work is Taegis XDR. It seems like, many people
Never heard of that before.
I say Taegis XDR, and most people will say, what's that? Like, trust me, it's not known. I think Logarithm is more known than Taegis XDR, but that one's still even smaller.
I've never heard of those. I've only heard of Splunk. Maybe it's because I'm not that deep into the routine stuff.
No worries, trust me. Like I talk to people that's into this stuff, and they don't know that either. It does, it does well for the company. I'm sure it's cost less than Splunk, the premier SIM that everyone knows about.
It's hard to find people for that too. You have to have there's like power different certifications, like 4 or 5 different certs you need to be picked up by somebody. It's insane.
Just talked to a recruiter during the RVA Sec, and he was just telling me how like, yeah, they're looking for people that already have experience with Splunk, and actually have somewhat from school, because they, if I remember correctly, it's been 2-3 years now. But I'm fairly sure, do they have a community watered down one? I have to check on that.
We need for like a certification for Splunk, you talking about?
Yeah, just for.
They have like free education that you can go do and you take classes, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
I
not
don't know
too
about
sure.
the actually
You can use that.
downloading it.
Splunk, yeah, community edition.
I can't remember.
Oh, you
Or
mean
is
that?
Yeah, like the actual.
The actual, oh, okay.
No,
okay.
that was Nessus. I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
Nessus that had the
Yeah.
community edition for that.
Yeah.
That wasn't
Yeah.
Splunk. I was thinking about something else.
Snort.
Sorry. The what?
Snort, something I use.
Oh,
Yes, for-
yep, yep.
Well, I started.
That's one I've used in the past too. It's a very good one. So, let's see here. Make sure I get it. It's like 500 lines of notes for a 12-slide presentation. Okay, suspicious services, running under unusual names, abnormal dependencies, or invalid signatures. You know, and if you, signature is basically kind of every computer program can be turned into a hash, or pretty much any kind of data can be turned into a hash, and that's what they considers the signature of it. And even the SIMs will compute the hashes for whatever sort of processing thing, and then you could check that against open source technology, like VirusTotal. I put the hash inside of VirusTotal tons of times. Okay, does everyone else think that this program is legit?
A lot of the times the person who's putting the product in there will supply hashing, even if someone were to take that and even add a space to the final program, it would change the hash value.
Yep.
But I think that's the I in CIA triad. It's integrity. It's file
Yep.
integrity.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. I actually had not put that in there, but yeah, that's a big topic that people talk about, the CIA, like integrity, or we should start with the C, continuous service, integrity, and availability. Thank you. It's been a while since I went over that acronym.
More than that kind of.
Confidentiality.
Yeah, I would say that.
Let's see here. So, and I wanted to point out, you know, all of this, what we've talked about so far, we can check with differential analysis. And this is where, if you have a SIM like that is collecting logs all the time, it's has a history of events or logs. Like usually that's only like 30 days, but you know, if you got an alert and you start, you can start seeing, you can look back in your logs to see what it was, you know, a week or two ago versus how it's looking now. On the actual device, that can be a little bit harder depending on your organization, because you know, medium size bank I work for is like 600, 800 some people, I believe, from 600 to 800, somewhere like there. But like we don't have an image for each machine. The smaller, I'm sure you can have a little bit easier. But what we do is build the machine off of the first base image for each computer, or at least we try to. And that's often considered as a golden image, right? The one we start with. This is all good, like there's nothing about this, and this, you know, you can start looking into, okay, this is the golden image that our IT department actually builds each machine on. And you can inspect this image and like, okay, what kind of programs are going into this golden image? Take off the solitaire. No.
You mean like demi clients, right? Is that what you're talking about, or no?
No, like actual, you know, laptops. So you, put on operating system and everything, and it goes actually an image that you kind of clone onto it. And that should, that golden image should include software like your endpoint detectors, like because the SIEMs often will have endpoint detectors like that will go on each machine and will collect more logs and information other than your normal like Windows event viewer and things like that. Next slide. So, network investigation goes a little bit further into this. This TCP IP guide, I put the references down here and everything because I use their images. I really, not really gonna go into this IP datagram, but I wanted to put this up here to kind of point out like, there's, like this is the magic behind what's happening, right? Like there's, the data is being transferred from one place to another, and this is really kind of how it's done. Like a lot of people don't know. It's like, oh, like I have one file over here and now it's over here. Like it just happens. But getting into really understanding how a packet is put together, I feel like is an important step. These websites are a great resource. Just a heads up though, it is loaded with advertisements all over the thing. It's HTTP, so it's not secure. Like you get to, everyone can see what's you're looking at whenever you're connected to it, but you're not putting in your bank credentials. So just a heads up for that. I was looking through, there's really good information for like that. And I just wanted to point that out.
Imagine having to memorize all of that. Like it's 32 bits, right? The entire link. Imagine having to remember the version is 4 bits. This is 8 bits. This is, whatever amount of bits. It's insane, man.
Yep. No, like that's
when it's a segment, when it's a frame, when it's a packet.
Yeah, and this is just the internal part of the overall thing. Like this is, where is this? I think it's transport layer. Anyone? So I'll get to that momentarily. But anyways, yeah, like just to go back over, make sure I got everything. Sources for network investigation. Talked about firewall logs. Give them all the firewall. Intrusion detection system or intrusion prevention system. Very similar. Basically, the only difference is the intrusion detection system, IDS, will say like, oh, there's a packet going across the wire that looks like malware. Hey, security guys, you got a packet that's going across the wire that looks like malware. And it just let it go. But it alerts somebody to say that's basically it. It detects it and it's gone. Prevention system, it will be like, oh, looks like they're, no, you don't get to go. You're malware, you don't get it. So intrusion protection system, like it stops it. It'll send the alert still, but it'll also stop that. Of course, DNS logs, basically your phone book for the internet, right? Different tools that you can use. Wireshark. Wireshark will use this OSI model whenever looking at the different packets. Like you click into where it's the MAC level, or basically the data link level, the network level, transport, and stuff like that. Able to get the different packets through TCP dump, which is often used on Linux, and then of course the Windows version, WinDump. And then ngrep, which I haven't used very often, but I've used it sometimes, and I've heard good things about it from other people too. Wanted to point out the Berkeley packet filter. This is kind of a standard. These are how a lot of people will search the packets, like IP equals the IP address.
Like at the top of Wireshark.
Exactly. Wireshark will use this kind of standard for like doing your searches and stuff like that. So it's a good thing to know about, kind of like learn. And of course, like I said, the OSI model. This is where a lot of people will use. And I know there's the TCP/IP model as well, which I like the look of it a lot more whenever I was in school. There's less to remember. Yet, everywhere I've been, I've always seen them talk about the OSI model. I've never seen, like out of school, don't really see the people talking about the TCP/IP model, which is basically the same thing, except for application presentation session is mixed together. Like, really should.
All three at the top, like application, presentation, and session, are grouped together. And then it's called like the internet layer or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what they call it. It's really weird, man. And then, yeah, I think that's it. Actually, I think that's the new standard, like TCP/IP, that model. OSI is technically the old standard, but like when I'm troubleshooting something, like when I'm like, all right, I want to look at the physical connections first, like I troubleshoot based on the OSI model. I go to the very bottom and I work my way up.
Yeah. Now, like that, the OSI is the one that most people use, and this is a phrase that I learned back in school, and I always try to use. Honestly, these words on the side, I can never remember them without saying, "Please do not throw sausage pizza away." So, please do not throw sausage pizza away. That's all I remember. And when I start doing that, I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, it jogs my memory. Like, do it's a data link and
Those are all
stuff like that.
Another cool one is the OSI was created by the ISO. It's the Institute Standardization Organization. It's really weird. So I always remember like who created it by just reversing it. It's pretty cool.
Oh, really? I did not even know that. Like, who again?
Like Institution Standardization Organization. That's what it's called. It's really weird.
Okay, yeah.
Is that name originally French or something?
Yeah, right. I'm like, what?
Like, I put that one in the Discord. Like,
Yeah.
write that one on. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to memory collection. Actually, let me back up just a little bit. The what?
I was skipping ahead.
Oh, no worries. Let's see here. This one is way packets, useful for traffic. Use TCP dump to, you could actually use it more than just getting the packets of data or everything, making the PCAP, that's the overall file. You can use that to actually investigate the things on command line, which is sometimes useful to be able to inspect things that's going on the command line, because like if you're going onto a server, you may not have those Wireshark graphical tools, but also just like Wireshark even has a terminal version. TermShark? Yeah, it's pretty wicked. Like it's a bit graphical and everything too. Feel like sometimes a bit choppy, like it. I've had issues with it in the past because it is a lot of moving parts to the TermShark. Like I believe that's the name, but they do have a terminal version with like pretty snazzy.
I know people like TCP dump because it's graphical, a lot easier to sift through the data and stuff. And then like Wireshark, I mean, at the end of the day, you can take a PCAP file and throw it in anything you want, so as long as you get the .pcap or whatever, you can use it.
And what I will say is Wireshark does have a terminal version, but I honestly wouldn't use it. Like if I were going to be inspecting packets in the terminal, I would be using TCP dump and using grep and vim and things like that to search the packets that I want to look for. So, memory investigation. So, tools to be able to collect them. I have done limited amount of this stuff, like a lot of this stuff I actually recently learned. So I've had a chance to use FTK Imager, but the other things that I've seen, of course, the volatility framework. But these are just different things that you could capture the memory on your machine. And of course, when we're talking about memory, we're talking about the RAM and even the caches, because whenever we talk about memory, like you think about the hard drives, those are called a hard drive, but then they will actually take the information from the hard drive and it will be put into the RAM, like a lot faster memory, and even faster beyond that is your caches. There's different machines have a lot of different caches where it's closer to the processor itself.
It's like L3. It's like something weird.
Exactly.
It's like L3 or something like that. I can't remember. It's been a little bit.
Yep. I'm right there with you. Like I think of like L3, L2, something like
Yeah.
that. But they're just basically microchips on your motherboard that a whole data information, and it's sent to the processor in different ways. Like this could get. Dude, I had a whole class on this. Pages, that's what they call them, and all sorts of things. But unfortunately, I can't remember too well of that. But just these are a couple of tools that you could use to gather all that information. Because and you want to try to gather information with the computer being armed, of course. Because we're talking about volatile memory versus the non-volatile is your hard drive. That's something that when you turn off your PC, it's not going to go anywhere. The volatile memory is those RAMs, those caches. You turn off your machine, and that starts going away. So that's what you do with these capture tools. You actually capture that memory. That's what's going on in memory at that moment, to be able to analyze later. And that's where the volatility framework comes into place, where you can actually start analyzing that information. Yep. Forensic. Oh yes. The volatility for it uses a class system for it's.
For what's more vulnerable, or what's more volatile, right? From top to bottom,
Yep.
at least. Yeah, that's why they tell you like you can see what I say blessed. Like obviously don't turn the computer off when you're at the scene. They
Mhm.
go a whole bunch of different chain of custody and
Oh yeah.
needle holes and all this crazy stuff.
And that in good point, because like that's not even stuff that I'm bringing up in this particular one. I'm focusing more about like the investigation actually on the machine. But when you come to a site like as an incident response, if you're going to be going to the actual site to do it, I would be bringing a camera. I would bring like crime scene tape, have the whole
Was it
thing.
a Faraday bag or whatever it's called?
Yeah, Faraday bag, keep like signals from going around, like make sure no one touches the area, take snapshots. I listened to a podcast where the investigators were trying to get the password from the person that they had in custody, and they knew this. And it was the guy didn't know the password. Like, how do you not know the password? It's like, well, the password was each letter of the CD in that particular order. Well, you guys took the CDs and started looking through them and shuffling them around, and now I don't know the password.
Oh, that's cool. He kind of did it how when you write out a sentence and then you encrypt it in a way where the beginning first word, the first letter of each sentence spells something.
Yeah.
And you can like taunt. I think serial killers used to do it when they would taunt the police, and they would. I think it's Zodiac used to do it. But.
So this is everything. Like, so whenever something's happened and it's there, like, make sure if you're going to move anything, take a picture of that, because who knows, it could be the password that you're moving in a cryptic sort of pattern. But yeah, then of course you get on the computer, and there's other things where you have hardware write blockers that will connect to the actual machine to have your extra hard drive to move over the memory and whatever, image the entire machine. But there's physical write blockers to keep the machine, like, keep you from actually writing anything to it, because you want those things, because once something happens and it eventually gets to court, like, you don't want the threat actor to be like, that wasn't there. They put stuff on my machine. You want written down, this is the person that went onto the machine, this is the equipment that they used, this is the bag that was put in, this is the tamper-proof sticker that was put on, this is the person that was given to it, this is where it was stored. You know, all these things just to get to court to make sure that the evidence is legitimate and not thrown out of court.
I wonder who's doing this stuff, because I went up to the courthouse, Hanover County, and I asked them, and they told me there's only like 3 people doing it in the entire county.
Doing what now?
Digital forensics. Because I went up there and asked some questions. There's only 3 guys doing that. They're like, but I'll let you know. They're only hiring at the end of the year and at the beginning of the year.
I'm telling you, we're not doing it at my company. Like if we had incidents, we're calling our Aegis. They have incident response team as well. Hopefully they're doing it well.
I don't get where the jobs are. Who's doing that stuff?
I don't know either.
Well, state police, we have a
Right.
computer evidence recovery section. Folks that do that all the time.
No, it's like, so he's talking about like digital forensics. When you arrive on scene, getting a bit by bit perfect clone copy of whatever it was, so that when you go to the court, the guy says, X, Y, and Z, that's not it. It's like, they cloned it perfectly. But I just, I don't get who's doing that, because there's only 3 people in the entire county that are doing it.
I've had a discussion with my work about that.
Like to like an e-discovery company.
I can see that.
That's like, I remember that. So it's probably not the company itself, it's like an outside.
I heard recently that the newest model iPhones, like no one logs in, I think it's like 48 hours, 72 hours, like those kind of wipe, like, I can't remember the exact confines, but they wipe a lot of stuff automatically.
I've seen that, where you send a signal to the phone and it wipes the phone for you.
Yes,
That's
my
why they
work
use
phone
it.
actually has,
That's really cool.
yeah, my work phone actually has some additional software on it. In fact, like my company doesn't pay for a legitimate work phone. They paid me $45 to put a couple of applications on my phone. I was like, no, thank you. I bought myself a new phone, which cost me $47 a month. It won't be, they tried to get the $2 out of them, but they're like, oh well. It's just
There's like digital fuses too, which are pretty cool. I forgot exactly how they work, but it's something like if you don't follow the right sequence or do something right, the entire thing just destroys itself. It's crazy.
I'm wondering if the Switch 2 is doing that, because you heard
Switch 2?
like new,
Oh.
getting off track here a little bit, but they're talking like
It just got broken into, right?
I don't
Is
even
that what
know.
we're talking about?
No, well, the new EULA is saying that they supposedly can brick your Switch 2 from.
Oh, really?
If you
You're trying to jailbreak.
If you try to
That's
do
probably
stuff.
what they're using.
I don't know too much about it at this point. I'm excited to learn more about it, but
I
that's
feel like they're saying that just to make you not do it.
maybe
Just to be like, don't do it. It'll
Well,
destroy the device.
It's also legal CYA on their end if they ever really want to do it. I doubt they have it implemented.
Okay.
Well, my thing is like if it's actually able for them to brick it from afar, if they are seeing that someone's tampering it, like a threat actor will figure out how to do it and brick everyone's.
That's
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
it.
Now I know, today, because now it's gonna be a party.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'd like to see. But I will not do that. As an old, not doing it. Don't recommend it. Don't want anyone to do it. But it would be pretty fun. Okay, malware investigation. Types of approaches. Static analysis. Basically, getting what we were basically just talking about. Getting that memory, getting that full clone. Yeah, you go into it. Go into checking out each of the process, or even finding that if we go down to the specific program item. Yeah, like what is the Ghidra? Yeah, that's the one made by the NSA that they gave out. Was it GIHRDA?
They gave it out. What do you mean they gave it out? Like, here, you guys can test this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't touch it.
Oh, I know, right?
Did you see what they did at that one DEF CON event? They had a charger out there, and they were like, free charging. What is that? It's an iPhone charger.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the truth, but I've used it plenty.
Have you heard of XP score? It's off topic.
Of course, dynamic analysis of malware. Like this dynamic analysis of malware, that gets pretty interesting because that's where you're actually running the malware.
You put a debugger on it or something,
It-
do a step through and watching how it reacts to certain things.
Exactly. Now, with that, you really have to have good hygiene.
Put in a VM somewhere.
Get yourself a whole different laptop, disconnect all the Ethernet from it, create virtual networking Ethernets to make it look like it has some sort of connection.
Someone told me about something called Cubes OS or something like that.
I've
Where it's
never heard of that.
you can make like a whole bunch of different VMs along that. It's weird.
That's the most interesting.
Some sandbox.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, sandbox.
Some cloud providers allow that kind of stuff, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
some don't.
Like the one that I use is like Falcon. That's a sandbox that's from CrowdStrike, and that's all online. In fact, I have online analysis, which they have those online sandboxes. Falcon, of course. Any run, actually, you could do a short time with any run. It's free.
CrowdStrike, is that the people that had the plane incident?
Yeah, the blue screen of death.
Yeah.
Like, aren't everyone?
Yeah.
But like they came back. Like hopefully learned. Like I would assume they learned
Right.
from their
2
mistakes.
months later, the world it does it again.
Yeah, like if they do it again, like hopefully it's in a long time from now when no one remembers the first one.
That was pretty impressive in terms of Microsoft's statement afterwards, where they were like, "Yeah, you're not supposed to. We're disabling this feature, and you're not supposed to be doing this."
Yeah. Like it's pretty interesting. Let's see here. IDA Pro, Nidra, RAD, Radair, Binary Ninja. I haven't even used. I've used IDA Pro just a little bit and Nidra. I haven't used those other ones. I'm actually interested in trying Binary Ninja once I saw that online, just because it sounds like a cool name.
Did you go to the RVA second presentation about malware analysis without reverse engineering?
I don't remember that presentation.
Were you at RVA second?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Okay. There was also like the previous mentioned volatility. I should look at that. So I got the CEO of the company who runs that actually at presentation as well.
I have a whole slide with that because I started using that for the training that I went through recently for this kind of information that I got from. Let's see here. So yeah, talking about the dynamic one again, of course, the good hygiene. Oh yes, here's now bringing that data over in. Let's say you did create a virtual machine, and how are you going to get it into that virtual machine, right? Well, there's a couple ways. You can use a USB, connect it to the computer, and then have it where that USB connects directly to that virtual machine. You can also do shared folders, but whenever moving it over, that's part of good hygiene. You want to make sure once the data is moved, you stop the shared folder. You remove everything possible that malware could possibly escape your virtual machine. Depending on what's happening with it, they're going to be trying to get out.
There's really sophisticated malware too. Like it'll figure out if it's in some type of VM. Like it knows how to figure out. Okay, this is not right. Then it'll wait until it isn't somewhere legit, and then it'll spring out and do what it does.
Yes, it may not even do anything.
Yeah, well, that's a technique. Like VM escape is, I think, a technique that it would use, but like it can. I don't know how it does it. But it can tell that it's in like a virtual environment and not do anything crazy. It's pretty.
Yeah, like depending, like if the default name is for a virtual machine, like if you make a VM, where like I've seen it sometimes where they'll put the name of the computer, VMware desktop or something like that.
It's attached to where is what the lady said.
And there's like different ways.
It doesn't run if looks like there's not an internet connection or something.
Exactly. Like they can get really complicated, and in fact, there was a wonderful documentary that I recommend, Stuxnet. One of
That was an air gap system, right?
The what?
It's the
Air gap system.
Iranian
I
Nuclear,
agree.
is it nuclear facility?
Nuclear enrichment facility.
Sabotage,
Mhm.
centrifuges.
Like often considered the first nation to nation use of cyber warfare. It's and how I understand it, it hasn't really been disclosed who used it, but generally everyone, pretty sure it's America to keep the Iranians.
That's why USBs are banned, because someone had a USB and just plugged it in, and then it sits over USB. You can give an air system. That's why the most sophisticated APTs in the world are the types that get planted in a country, and then they get jobs, like system administrator, and then they click on an email, and they go, whoops, I clicked on the email, and they're not even legally being held now, accountable, so they can walk away scot-free, and they've, cut off an entire plant or electrical grid or whatever. So it's crazy.
And with depending on, like, if it's a nation state hacking into the system, that stuck to me. It was great because it talked about how they didn't just start destroying all the canisters. No, they learned about these canisters and learned like what kind of malfunctions are normal for them. And then every so often they start spinning them faster, and it melts it from the inside. And they don't even know that it's melting because the software is telling them at the piano that everything's okay. Nothing's going on here, but it's inside it is melting to pieces. And it's not all of them all at once, it's just this one. Oh, it must have been a malfunction. And this goes on for months. I can't remember how long they say it goes on for. But like, it totally puts them back years and years. All of this.
Look what's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, literally right now.
Certain aspects of that story
Yeah,
are
it's-
as pretty incredible in terms of it's like.
Did you fill in me in the story? Because I heard the story, but I was like, this didn't happen.
Oh, you're talking about what's Stuxnet?
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about what's happening now.
Yeah.
Oh,
A couple days ago.
Iran and Israel are trading
Okay.
missiles and airstrikes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
although
because of their
there's more
nuclear-
to it in terms of like, I guess people within, I guess they have agents within Iran, basically civil defense systems.
Mhm.
Apparently they built a
The
yeah, like a drone facility within the country.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't even know how you do that.
Yeah, it's wild. Like I wouldn't even know either. Like that, those nation state actors, I feel like are above my pay grade.
I'm just wondering, like, based off of y'all's knowledge, like, what's the longest running kind of planning that y'all you're
Why do we
saying?
like to learn this?
For
now,
like
or-
like a threat for these threat actors, you're saying they get hired.
To be a threat actor? Or to
You mean
No, for like.
or like learning?
No, for the threat actors planning out different.
Oh, years of
scenarios.
experience.
Yeah.
Hundreds of years between them probably of experience.
Yeah, like and it always
Ridiculous
depends.
amounts.
You got different threat actors, right? Like
They
that's
work
where
in a team, like one person specializes, like
Yeah.
people specialize in the social engineering part and.
yeah, like nation state actors, threat actors. Those are considered APTs, and advanced persistent threats. And
Funding is through the roof, really. So they can. Our government even does it. Like they
Yeah,
stockpile
our government.
vulnerabilities,
Yeah.
and then they don't disclose it to Microsoft. And then there's something
Eternal
called,
Blue.
Yeah, MS 17010 is
Mhm.
Eternal Blue.
Yep, yep.
So, but the government knew about that for years. They don't want to say anything. They want to use it, and they want to use it. What is the other one that iPhone has? It's called
I forget.
oh man, it starts with P.
Not sure.
Someone help me out. The iPhone thing where they can the government sell to other governments.
Pegasus?
Pegasus.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
NSO
great.
group. That's
okay.
spyware.
Yeah. The Israel,
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it?
Israel
Yeah.
company.
Yeah, it's Israeli spyware from the NSO group.
Like,
It's insane.
what company is it that?
NSO.
NSO. Yes, thank
NSO,
you.
there you go.
Yeah, that's wild, and it's not a particular vulnerability, but it's their brand name program that breaks into phones. And if a vulnerability is patched, once they figure it out, they just find another one and
there's-
still get in.
There's something else you can do too. Some buddies at work were talking about. They didn't explain it real well, but they can call your phone and copy like almost like a SIM swap, but it's not a SIM swap. They can copy everything on the device and put it into the phone.
I mean, that's because SIM isn't the most secure network ever.
Well, it's not. I don't know if it has to do. It's like a SIM swap, but it's not. they didn't explain it really well, but it just sounds insane.
There's
Makes my mind
so
run
many-
with different possibilities out there.
Yeah, it's crazy because, you know, you read about even where there's zero-click exploits where they
Those
just
are the-
send a message to your phone. They, in the middle of the night, you don't even know it's happened. They gain access,
That's the best.
delete that message.
Yeah,
That
like two-factor thing, like some banks, like their two-factor authentications that use like a SIM as an application.
yeah, the multi-factor authentication.
You can exploit MFA too. They do something where they sit in the middle. So like you're typing in stuff and then they're sending it to something else. And you can tell because it's like super late. It's like a lot of latency.
The man in the middle.
Yeah,
sort
so
of
a lot of
attacks.
people think that MFA is completely
And
safe.
really, a lot of threat actors, we're talking about the nation state, best of the best groups, right? Where they can do these things, and there's almost no way you can defend it. Honestly, a lot of these nation state defenders are not going to be going after, a lot of organizations. What they're going to be going after are places that have either, if it's North Korea, they're going to go after people with a lot of money because they do a lot of stuff for money-wise. If it's other states, like nation states, they got money. They don't need money. They need government secrets. They need like government tech. So they're going to be that's where they're trying to get into the power grid to be able to have a tactical advantage to shut down cities' powers and everything. So that's advanced persistence threats. The most of the threat actors out there, those are your gangs, your script kiddies. Those are just sending you phishing emails trying to trick you because really we have so many protections in place these days. Like the biggest entry point is people, unfortunately.
Yeah, or misconfigurations.
Misconfigurations like that. That's
On
also
your server or wherever it is.
like a person, doesn't add in the multi-factor authentication for one. The CEO doesn't want to look at his phone to put in the password for multi-factor or whatever. So, like he gets phished and clicks on a link and suddenly they have access. So, but like a lot of threat actors, like they do not have the advanced persistent threat skill set. And of course, whenever someone uses a 0-day, that like something that the 0-day, of course, is something that's never been used before, and it's able to get into a machine. That starts the clock to someone finding that 0-day. If it's used, consider it burned because like it could be someone detect it, reverse engineer it, and you're not getting it in the next time. So if you like if a threat actor has it, they're going to use it for something much more important than my kid's photos.
But one thing that's really cool, I guess when I was first starting out, I thought that like, oh well, someone makes a 0-day and then gets patched, and then now there's only 100 left, now there's only 50 left. Well, like I was thinking about bug bounty, that's not how it works. Every single time they update something, it introduces more vulnerabilities that are waiting to be exploited. So it could introduce 50 more, 100 more, 60 more, whatever. I want to. No, I'm not that smart.
Yeah, 10 years.
You want to.
Working on it. But yeah, like they patch a 0-day. By patching the 0-day, they could break something else. They make another 0-day.
If you ever like program JavaScript or anything, you go to Stack Overflow, there's always a long list of like no longer like a depreciated JavaScript like frameworks because of all of those exploits.
I catch them every now and then watching CVs and they're related to scores and stuff. I want to do what's it called? More security research and like looking at write-ups and what was the problem and how it worked, and I feel like I was learning the most from that.
Oh yeah, this want to go over PowerShell, like a very good tool. It has many commands. You look up processes. There's one command that not just looking at the process, but looking at the parent process for that process, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier when it comes to is Notepad supposed to be coming from a application that's checking your password. Not
Okay,
really.
is this Notepad like integrated with Copilot on Windows 11? It could be that.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Like, see that, and that's
That's the thing that's pissing me off. Like Copilot is spying on your computer, should be considered spyware.
that possibly.
There's also a question of like how much that stuff opens extra threat vector.
Also, like when you, like new installs, if you don't like check very carefully, your stuff is like automatically integrated with OneDrive, but as in they straight up move the file from your local computer to OneDrive, and they're feeding that to Copilot.
Yep. Oh, it's like I turned that off but they pushed that hard.
What was that other thing that came out? It wasn't Copilot. It was something else that they introduced, and everyone was like, "This is the end." I cannot.
Is it some
remember
kind of
what
telemetry system?
Oh,
or just-
No, it's called like Recall. What is it?
Oh, yeah,
Recall,
Is it
where
Recall? Is that what it
they
is?
take a snapshot of your
Insane.
computer screen
So
every.
crazy, man.
I forget how many seconds they do it.
And then someone figured out how to turn it off, and then they were like, "Oh, you guys don't want us doing that? Oh, we'll take it off. That's cool."
Yeah, they get feedback.
Because it's like, what if I have a password up on my screenshot, but like have your Copilot, someone else be like, "Hey, what's John's password?" Like,
Look it up.
Yeah, now that one's gonna, whenever Microsoft gets hacked or some sort of,
Chances are Microsoft hired these, for us. So.
well, yeah, or you know that you have various, like, different countries where it's like, this is almost like where you're going to try and like get into that team, because if you happen to hit the jackpot on like some sort of like elected official's laptop or something like that, or someone like CIA, FBI or something.
Oh yeah, gather all
And
the
this administration, I think you could just ask them.
You know, that's more accurate than you might believe. Like I've heard of instances where a threat actor just posing as a tech just sends an email to someone like, "Oh, your computer seems to have an issue. Can you send me your username and password so we can go in and fix it?" Send their username and password.
Unencrypted like signals, like stuff, like messages. Like that's what this administration do. I'm pretty sure like everything. If you're like a government worker with like a security clearance, I'm pretty sure like foreign actors got it all that.
So honestly, House of Reps had a huge breach a couple years back where whoever was like head of like tech on the Democrat side, it might have been like two Iranian guys or something that had better access to like everyone's stuff, and it's just like, wait, what? Didn't know you had anything.
Palo Alto doesn't stop shitting with that. I think the government's. I think they switched over. They don't use Palo Alto anymore. They use something else. But yeah, they were running this truck.
There's a Palo Alto speaker at one of the RVA Cybersecurity Meet-up that I see as to, that's funny.
Yep, gathering, monitoring. PowerShell does all that stuff. Feel like we've talked about those. Oh, yes, I wanted to bring this up as well. Additional tools that you can download. Sys internal tools. This just gives you a lot more that you could start looking at. They have being able to look at your processes a lot more, passwords. Like this is basically
Windows API, right?
The what?
It's like Windows API, like get process ID, right? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like and have the link here.
That's a really good one. Sorry, I didn't cut you
No,
off.
no worries. I'll upload this PowerPoint to the Discord so you guys can have all this. But yeah, those are free to install, the Sys internal tools. And this is a screenshot of my directory where they're at under the Windows app, Microsoft Sys internal tools. But
These Linux commands got ported over?
They are a lot that have very similarity to a lot of Linux commands. These are things that
Like pskill, ps list, like pskill, ps
Yep.
list, like ps. Those are definitely.
a lot of the Linux, a lot of this stuff will come with Linux naturally. Windows, they don't give you the tools to really start looking at the internals of your machine right off the bat. They're more about like just use the OS to check your email
So
or
they,
something.
so
Which
aren't
is
these
great.
Linux
People
functions
need
that got
that.
ported over to PowerShell?
The what?
So aren't these just Linux functions that got ported over to PowerShell?
I can't say for sure.
No, it's
Like-
off the backbone of Linux. So like a lot of these commands are not really just.
I know a lot of this stuff is they actually have their own GUI interface, the graphic user interface. Like they even have like online you could look for them and you look up sys internals. They each have their own little special icon and everything, make it pretty. This is just directly from my computer file system, so it doesn't look that pretty. It just has the names of each one of them. Like there's ones that are used more often than others, but I wanted to make sure I got a list of all the ones that got downloaded. But yeah, like DU, I use that all the time for in Linux. Yeah, well, disk usage, I do.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But that, I think it's, of course, it's programmed to different. Like I haven't used the sysinternal tools that much. I've only used things like PS list.
PSExec is like
PS.
one thing I really care about.
PSQL is just, universal for many reasons.
Desktops is not even needed anymore because, like, I believe desktops is where they actually give you multiple different desktops across the system. But Windows is doing that now.
I think also like when you log, like your login screen is treated as a whole different desktop than like other, you know what I mean? It's
I didn't even know that. Like I would say I'm more of a Linux person than a Windows person. I've been learning and learning, like I tell you, because everyone
As
uses
we
Linux.
should in cybersecurity.
So I feel Linux is a good place to start with, but you still definitely need to learn Windows as well because that's what everyone's using. Like if everyone moves over to Linux, so I'd be okay with that. Let's see here. CyberChef. I want to bring up CyberChef because it's such a great tool. Gotta finish up here quickly. But yeah, it's a versatile tool online. You just put in different recipes. You can there is some things you can use to unencrypt, but with that it's a little bit harder because you actually have to have the keys and everything. It's more for decoding, and I want to make sure I say the difference because encoding is like a set standard way of doing something. Like SHA-256 is a hash encoding. It's a, or actually, no, that's encryption. One-way encryption.
Encoding is like base 64.
Base thinking.
Or it's like,
That's what I was
when
thinking
you
about.
encode something to throw it through like a request or something like that. It usually it does it automatically.
That's kind of what was in my head, the base 64. So my apologies. You cannot actually reverse the SHA-256. It's only one way. But base 64, that's encoding. It goes one for one. Just basically like. You know, I have a hard time.
ETFA is
Yeah, change that. But anyways, yeah, you got, I'm sure, an ethical hacker that wants you
They all look
with the
like that.
CyberChef hat, little hat. I had to put the little hat on. But yeah, like you're able to use it for decoding and also decryption. I use it mostly for decoding because, I guess I'm not as good with the decrypting can be hard. Like it's of course harder.
Usually you need the salt too, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
But it'll be like $7 $7.
Yep.
And that's the level of encryption that's being used. So obviously the higher the level, you're gonna get to like 256 or 512 or like whatever.
Those dollar signs are your separators. The first one, like 6 is 256, I believe, and then the next dollar sign after that is the base 64 username, and then the next one I think is the password or something. Pretty sure it's all like that. It's, yeah. But yeah, CyberChef definitely something that we all look at, and know about. The voluntary framework.
Anybody go to the RVA presentation of this guy?
I did not. Sounds like I should have. But yeah, it's a great framework. I've just started recently using it, trying to learn more about it. But from what I could tell, this is where you want to, try to learn when it comes to memory forensics. Like you get that that memory encryption, and then you use this application to do it. And it goes over Windows, Mac, OS, Linux, because it's all under Python and everything runs Python. It uses plugins to start doing things, use the -H for help, of course. And you put up a couple of known, more important ones for the plugins, like your list of your processes, get a whole process tree, scanning, like looking at the memory for any sort of network activity. And this isn't like looking actually at the network, but looking at your the memory blob that you created earlier.
Like the address? What do you mean,
Like earlier in the slides when we talked about creating a copy of the entire memory of what is actually happening on that computer. Like where did it connect to? Was it at google.com search cats, or was it at threat actor website.com? That's where your net scans, and it's not looking, it won't be searching what's happening now, but it's searching what happened then inside of your memory block. It is basically search that data file for what was going on. Command line, of course, what kind of files were dumped, the registry, and then the scan services, all different things that it's looking for, using this tool to look for stuff inside of that memory capture that you captured.
I guess also open source.
Oh, useful links that I thought were pretty cool. Instance response template, tracker. I want to use this security onion. Like I've watched different videos on it, open source, free. I'm going to get it, but I actually haven't used that one yet. Use some links from here. And to be honest, I haven't really even used this workstation, but I found it while I was doing some different research and it looked pretty interesting. It's something I want to go back to and look at a little bit more. And I know Sans, they know what they're doing, so figured I want to check it out. But just full disclosure, I haven't actually really got into that one. That's the least one that I've really touched. But it definitely looked interesting. I want to put it on there. That is my presentation, like some links for you.
Are you summarizing some of these presentations that were RVA saying that apparently I'm the only one? You ever one?
No, I think he went to one of them. 'Cause I remember you have a familiar face. I remember seeing you there.
That was,